Hi, my name's Selena, and today I'm going to be presenting PeopleSoft navigation. So this is specifically how to navigate through PeopleSoft to make your open enrollment changes. I'm going to be navigating through some of the basic processes, but also some errors that you may encounter while making your open enrollment selections. So let's go ahead and get started. To access PeopleSoft, you're going to log into Employee Self-Service. And once you're there, you're going to see a tile that says Open Enrollment. You're going to go ahead and click on that tile. Once there, you're going to see some different tabs on the left-hand side, starting from Welcome through your personal information, dependent info, benefits, enrollment, and then Open Enrollment Summary. Now, some of these things may not say visited for you. This is a pseudo profile that has been accessed before. So that's the reason why it may say visited. So you're welcome to walk through each tile, though you don't have to, but for the purpose of training today, I am going to walk through each section. So here is just the welcome tab. You're going to be able to get some basic information, helpful tips, don't forget items, just something for you to review. You have the option of either clicking personal information on the left-hand side to continue or hitting next at the top. Either one is fine. We can go ahead and hit next up here. This is where you will have an opportunity to review your personal information like your home and mailing address. You do want to make sure that it's up to date. This is the tab that gets sent over to the carriers for your address information when enrolling in these plans. Contact information. It's best to have an up-to-date phone number and email address. This isn't necessarily going over to the carriers. However, the benefits division does use these contacts to contact you when you have different life events or different questions for us. We do again use your personal email address on file and phone number on file to reach you if ever needed. After you have reviewed this section, you can either again go next at the top or dependent info on the left. I'm going to do it a different way this time. I'm going to hit dependent info. In this section, you will see any individual you have ever created a profile for. This dependent info section is not necessarily stating that you have somebody enrolled on your current plans. It may be that you previously had them enrolled or they are currently enrolled. So either one could be true. In this section, if you see individuals who you know should, maybe you don't have them on your plans anymore, the most common example is a former spouse. If you see a former spouse here and you're concerned about that, you can go ahead and email the benefits division right here at our email address to update their profile if you are now divorced. If you are now divorced and want your ex-spouse's profile updated, you do have to provide the divorce decree if you have not previously submitted that to the benefits division. If you see dependents, like maybe an adult dependent who is not currently insured on your plans and you see them here, they do remain visible to you up until the age of 26. That is so that if for some reason you ever need to add them back to your plan while they are still eligible to be enrolled, their profile is there accessible to you to add them back to your plan. If you see any type of discrepancies with your dependents, like their names are misspelled, or maybe you see some type of error with their birth date, you cannot edit this section. You will need to email the benefits division at the DHR benefits email address to update any type of demographic information for your dependents. Again, once their profile is created, you cannot edit it. You would need our assistance to be able to do that. So let's just say that you intend to add a new dependent for the plan year 2026. You do have the opportunity to add the individual here. There will be other sections for you to add a dependent, and I will tell you what those sections are when we get to them. But let's just say you're already anticipating adding a new dependent. Maybe you recently got married. So let's walk through that process. So here we're going to add a name, and let's just say this dependent's information. Her first name is Sarah, last name is Fitz, just like our profile, Ben E. Fitz. We're going to enter a birthday here. And let's just pick a year. And by the way, I'm just making all of this stuff up. This is not a real person. This is a pseudo person. And then you're going to put relationship status. Remember, if you're married legally with one of the states or even out of the country, you're going to select spouse. Every once in a while, somebody will put domestic partner. But again, if you have a legal marriage certificate, you would put that person down as your spouse. We do need a social security number if your dependent has been issued a social security number. So if your dependent does not have a social security number, that is fine. You can, and I'm going to make up random numbers, by the way. That's fine if your dependent does not have a social security number. However, we'll still need the marriage certificate. Once your dependent obtains a social security number, you will need to email that to the benefits division to have their profile updated. It's not necessary that you add a phone number or email address for your dependents, but if you'd like to, you can. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and just save this profile. And now when I get to my benefit enrollment section, this person will be available for me to enroll. You'll notice that the supporting documents received, there's no check mark there. That would mean that I need to provide my marriage certificate in order to enroll my dependent Sarah for the 2026 plan year. If you see a check mark here next to your dependent, that means that you do not need to provide supporting documentation like a marriage certificate or birth certificate because we already have that on file. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. I'm done with this section. And right here, what you're seeing is where you're going to make your actual changes for the 2026 plan year. So you'll see all of our plans available. We have medical all the way through the spending accounts. And for the purpose of training, I am going to go through each one of these tabs so that you're able to see what they look like and what different messages you may encounter when you click on each tab. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to go through the most common scenario. So let's just say that you're an employee. You don't really have any intention to change anything for open enrollment, but you logged in just to make sure things still look good. Nothing's going to change. So you're going to notice that you have a column that says current, and you're going to have a column that says new, which is what you would expect to have for 2026. Then if you take a look at the column that says status, it'll say pending review, meaning, hey, if you want to review it, you can. But let's just say as an employee, I don't really want to click on anything. I don't want to mess anything up. I just want to make sure that my current matches my new and it looks good. And then I go straight down and I say, okay, yep, that looks good. Next. Oh, it says congratulations, you have completed your open enrollment. Now, I was anticipating a different message. I'm going to be honest with you. There should have been a message that said, hey, you need to go back and you need to take a look at the medical section and review. So let's just pretend that you actually got that alert because there's a good chance that you will. If you get an alert that says, hey, hold on, wait a minute, go back to the medical section and you need a review, what that error message is saying is that you need to go to the medical section, hit review, and at the bottom, you don't need to change anything here if you don't want to, but you do need to read the arbitration language for the plan that you have chosen and agree. Then you would hit done. And then at that time, you'd be able to hit next. And then it'll say, okay, congratulations, you submitted your open enrollment. So unfortunately, I didn't get the message I thought that I'd get, but that's okay because you may get it and I explained what it was. But let's just say you're like, you know what? I changed my mind. I talked to my spouse. I do want to actually enroll my spouse. So I'm going to go up here, and in order to enroll my spouse, I do need to put a check mark next to their name. Now, before I do that, I want to take a look at the section that lists all of the medical plans. And a common question we get is, why do I see negative numbers here? If you're an employee who is enrolling themselves only, the system is calculating your per pay period flex credits at the employee only level, and any negative number that you see in the pay period cost means that you have leftover flex credits to spend on other plans. So essentially, the negative means, oh, if I choose medical Kaiser at 424.72, my flex credits will cover that premium. And then that negative number of 37.28 is how much I have left to spend on other plans like dental, vision, and whatnot. Now you're going to notice something when I say, okay, I actually want to add a dependent, my spouse, you're going to see the numbers change automatically. And now the numbers reflect the employee plus one amount of premiums. And then that pay period cost would be your cost out of pocket to add that to add that dependent. So if I'm going to choose to enroll in Kaiser and add my spouse Sarah, my per pay period cost would be 148 with 44 cents. Now let's just say, oh, you know what? I'm adding my spouse, but I forgot to add my child too. So remember I said that you can add dependents in more than one section? So if you forgot to add them in the dependent info area, you don't need to go back there. You can add them right here. So let's just say you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about the baby. So we're gonna make a profile for the baby. And let's just say the baby, Harper, Fitz. It's a brand new baby. You just had them. That's why you forgot to add them earlier. Relationship status, child. Let's just say the brand new baby doesn't have a social security number yet. You're still waiting on that, so you don't need to put anything there. And you don't need to put anything for the phone number or email either. You're going to hit save. And now you have created a profile for Harper. Now a birth certificate would be needed because you can see here that that check mark's not there because you just had the baby. So we're going to hit the X up here where it says cancel. Don't worry, your changes should still be there. And now you're going to see Sarah and Harper. Now, if I don't click next to Harper's name, then they're not going to be enrolled. So I need to click on Harper, and now you'll notice that the numbers changed again. So now your premiums show the employee plus two or more dependent premium amounts. And then the per pay period cost that you see here also changed. So if I wanted to enroll myself, right, Ben's enrolling, plus two dependents, spouse and child, the per pay period out of pocket just for medical would be 181 with 46 cents. So let's just say that Ben is done here. He goes, okay, I'm done. And then you're going to get this message. It says you must answer yes to the certification text. So if you get that type of error or message, it's saying, hey, remember that arbitration language down at the bottom? You need to review that and agree to it. So let's just say that Ben thoroughly reviews that arbitration language, hits yes, done. And now Ben can move on, right? So at this point, Ben has reviewed his medical plan. He has made a change. He's added two dependents to the plan, and the per pay period cost for that plan is 181.46. So let's just say Ben goes, okay, I want to go ahead and review dental. So review dental. Again, when you take a look at the plans, it's going to show the per pay period cost for employee only until dependents have been checked off. Then the cost change automatically. So let's just say that Ben says, oh no, this time around I want to add my spouse, Sarah. So you'll notice that those per pay period costs change. And he's not going to add the baby at this time. So done. So now Ben has gone in, changed medical, dental, and has added one dependent to dental at this time. So let's just say Ben goes, okay, let me take a look at vision. Right now, Ben's the only one enrolled. Ben clicks on it, says, oh no, Sarah Harper, they don't need any vision. I only need vision. So rather than hitting done, Ben just hits cancel. And you'll notice that instead of it saying pending review, it says visited. Now, let's just say Ben goes, okay, I've reviewed those 3 plans. Let me go to critical illness. Now, this is where you may start having questions about what is critical illness? What are some of these plans? There's a definition of each plan at the top of each section of any given plan, so you can get an idea of what that plan is before enrolling. All right, so Ben hits critical illness, takes a look. Ben was previously waiving and wants to continue to waive. But this time around, instead of hitting cancel, Ben hits done. Now, this is a common question we get. It says changed, right? But Ben didn't change anything. Sometimes that is confusing for employees because they're like, wait a minute, how come it doesn't just say visited like the one before? I'm going to go back to that section and I'm going to show you the difference. It's just a matter of hitting cancel versus done at the top. When you hit cancel after reviewing a plan and not make any changes, it'll say visited. If you review a plan but don't make any changes and hit done, it'll say changed, even if you didn't make any changes. I understand that's confusing, but the best way to verify that no changes were actually made is to take a look at the current column versus the new column. If they are the same, right? No covers waived, that's basically the same thing. Then you'll know, okay, nothing was changed. It says that. The next section is life, AD&D, and dependent life. You're going to notice that if you go to the status column, it says county paid. Those plans are paid for by the county. So you don't have the opportunity to take any action on those plans because, again, they are sponsored by the county. Now, Ben has policies for $10,000 for basic life, basic AD&D. You might see a different number there. You might see 1 times your salary or maybe even 2 times your salary, depending on your job classification. So what you are offered for life insurance is dependent on your job classification, and you can review your benefit summary in order to determine your policy amount. But again, that's not really necessary because it says it right here on the screen what your policy amount is. So since we can't change anything, we're going to go on to supplemental life. And right now, Ben waives supplemental life. So Ben just had a baby, right? So he's like, you know what? I think it's about time I get some life insurance. You're going to notice that the requirements show statement of health required on each option. The reason for that being is that Ben has not ever had life insurance here at the county. And any increase to life insurance or supplemental life insurance does require a statement of health. So in this case, since Ben is choosing to elect life insurance for the first time, no matter what level of life insurance he selects, it's going to require a statement of health. So Ben decides, you know what, I'm going to go for? I'm going to go for that 6 times life. And then done. An message box is going to appear and it's going to remind Ben that, hey, you requested 6 times your life insurance. The carrier will be sending you a statement of health via email after open enrollment ends. So there is additional action items for Ben to do after open enrollment when it comes to the life insurance. Now, I'm going to go back to that section and let's just pretend, right, that you're looking at your open enrollment and you already had 3 times your salary. So you might not see statement of health required for 1, 2. You might just see it for 4, 5, and 6 because that's where your increase level would be. If you submit a statement of health for 4, 5, or 6 times and you're denied, you will be defaulted to what you had previously. So you don't lose your life insurance if you're denied for an increase, you just stay at what you had before. So I'm going to hit done again with this section. And now I'm going to go to supplemental AD&D. So again, the definition of each one of these plans is at the top. I'm not going to read over the definition since today's training is more about navigation, but you should review if you're unfamiliar with each plan option. So you'll notice that the cost for voluntary AD&D is fairly inexpensive. You have 2 options, 1 times your salary to 3 times your salary for yourself only, or 1 times your salary through 3 times your salary for yourself and your family. Family would include eligible dependents like children under the age of 26 and a legal spouse. So let's just say Ben goes, you know what, I'm gonna go for it again. I'm gonna do 6 times salary for my family, and I'm gonna hit done. You'll notice that for accidental death and dismemberment, there was no supplemental health questionnaire required. So the only one that requires that is going to be the supplemental life insurance, but the voluntary AD&D does not require a statement of health. Ben's going to say, okay, I just got married. What's the spousal life? So again, this is a $10,000 policy to cover a spouse or domestic partner. Ben says, you know what? I'm really into insurance these days now that I've had a baby. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select that and I'm going to hit done. And now that has changed. So Ben so far has reviewed and made changes for medical, dental. He looked at the changes for vision but didn't make any. He looked at critical illness, decided not to make anything, pushed a different button. So it says changed, but you'll remember he didn't change anything. He can't change anything for county paid policy, so we skipped that section. And then we went to the supplemental life, AD&D, spousal life. Now we're going to get to the other types of policies that we have, supplemental policies. One is short-term disability. When you get to this section, there are 2 types of employees that have either no option to pay into California State Disability or those who do pay into California State Disability. So Ben happens to be in a classification who pays into California State Disability. So he only sees one option here, which is a supplemental plan to what the state provides. And if you take a look at where it says employees who pay into California SDI, it gives a brief explanation of what the policy would entail. Let's just say that Ben goes, no, you know what? I don't think I want to add that. So he doesn't, and he hits cancel. Now it says changed, even though we hit canceled, but we see wave changed, nothing really changed. So again, don't be alarmed by some of those changed check marks from when you didn't change anything. Just review that current and new section. Now let's just say, I'm going to go back to review short-term disability. You are in a classification who does not pay into California State Disability. So you see 3, 7, or 12-week options. Now, right here, you're going to see a note that says to pick the best plan option, we recommend that you review the waiting period for your long-term disability. So if you're in a classification who does not pay into California State Disability, you likely have county paid long-term disability. And so what this section is telling you is saying, hey, go to your benefit summary, take a look at when that long-term disability starts so that you don't over purchase the short-term disability. So I'm going to use myself as an example, right? If I see 3, 7, or 12 weeks option here, I'm in a classification that has long-term disability that starts at 60 days. So I'm likely going to need a policy for either 3 or 7 weeks, but it's probably not a good idea to purchase the 12-week section or the 12-week option because I don't need that much short-term disability since I have long-term disability that starts after 60 days. Now, you can pick the option that you'd like. The system will not prevent you from over purchasing short-term disability, but again, we are trying to get you to think about whether or not you need that much short-term disability. So I'm going to hit done here. And let's take a look at long-term disability. Now, Ben sees long-term disability as an option here because he does not have county paid long-term disability. So Ben says, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and select the short term because I can hang on for a little bit, but if I'm disabled for an extended period of time, I'd have trouble with my income. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and I'm going to hit done. So you'll see that Ben added that plan. But let's just say that you're in a classification who has county paid long-term disability. You won't see an option to review or edit that section. It'll say county paid, and you'll know, okay, I have the county paid version, so I'm good. I can't change anything or add it. So now let's get to the spending accounts. Each one of these options is an opportunity for you to add funds to these accounts. In most cases, if you select the healthcare FSA and the HSA, if you edit that section and make a dollar amount pledge, you are pledging your own pre-tax dollars to that. The exception is for the dependent care account. If you're an employee who's going to waive the county medical plan and you want your excess flex credits to go into that account, you will need to review that section and make an annual pledge in order for your leftover or excess flex credits to go to that account. So let's just say that Ben says, okay, I'm going to review this and I am choosing medical. So I know that if I pick a healthcare FSA, I am pledging my own pre-tax dollars to this account. So I'm going to select that. And let's just say Ben says, okay, I see the minimum is $120 and the max is $3,300, and I want to pledge $2,000. But if you want to know what that looks like per pay period, you can click on the flexible spending account worksheet. It's going to say annual pledge. And if I put $2,000 here and I hit calculate, it's going to show me that my per pay period cost would be $83.33. So that's what I would expect to put from my own money into this account, again, on a pre-tax basis. So Ben hits done and hits done here. And if you want some more information about this account, you go ahead and read over the definition. But while we're here, one FAQ that we get regarding the healthcare flexible spending account is whether or not it comes with a debit card. And this particular account does not come with a debit card. So please keep that in mind when you're funding this account. It is a reimbursement account. So I'm going to hit done. And now dependent care FSA. Ben says, okay, well, I just had that baby. My spouse is going to go back to work. So I'm going to hit select and let's see, my 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 costs are probably going to be fairly high. It's a brand new baby. They tend to cost more, right? So minimum contribution is $120 and max for 2026 is 7,500. So Ben says, you know what? I'm pretty sure that we're going to spend about $6,000 because the baby's just going to go part-time, right? I'm just making this up. Let's go to flexible spending account worksheet. And if I want my annual pledge to be 6,000, which I've already entered, and I hit calculate, it's going to show me that my per pay period contributions is 250. And again, this is a tax savings account. So Ben is going to be saving on his taxable income when he pledges his own money to this account. So Ben hits done. And you'll notice we see some items that say changed. It'll have a dollar amount for the per pay period cost based off of that change. And now I'm going to go to a section called the health savings account, and I want to show you a potential error that you might get. When you get to this section, we got a lot of information about HSAs, but you're going to notice when you get to enroll in your plan that it's all grayed out. The Kaiser's grayed out, UHC is grayed out, Health Savings Account is grayed out. My only options are to waive. So the reason why that is happening is that you'll notice at the top, it says that HSAs allow you to save towards out-of-pocket costs when you are enrolled in a high deductible plan. So you may not remember, but Ben only enrolled or Ben enrolled. Oh, I like this error. Ben enrolled in a Kaiser HMO plan. All right, so Ben came in here by mistake and he tried to hit done. And it says, hey, you have not made a selection. You have to do something. So this is where employees get stuck sometimes because they're like, well, everything's grayed out. I can't hit done. So your options are to hit waive or cancel. So let's just say you go to cancel, no changes made, it says visited. You get back into that section, and if I select waive and then done, it says changed, but it's still the same thing. Remember, Ben's not even eligible to enroll in this plan. So we have reviewed all of these plans. Ben's feeling confident. He's ready to be done with all of this. So Ben says, okay, you see where it says enrollment summary and then it says status? Ben has logged in previously, but now has made changes. So if Ben wants any of these changes to be submitted for review to the benefits division, the next button has to be clicked. So once it is checked or clicked, it says, okay, we sent that information over to the benefits division. Hey, don't forget about that supplemental life insurance statement of health you'll have to complete. And then I'm gonna hit done. And now you are going to notice that the status changed to submitted and is date and time stamped. Anytime you log into your open enrollment, and remember, you can do that as much as you like during the open enrollment window, which is October 6th through October 30th. You have as many times as you like to log in and make changes. But every time you do that, you need to make sure that afterwards that status says submitted and is date and time stamped. So let's just say Ben goes, okay, next. And he just keeps getting this message. So in order to review your open enrollment summary with all your costs calculated, you either need to hit next at the top or open enrollment summary. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. Again, either is fine. And now I'm going to get this open enrollment summary. And this is going to be all of my plans calculated for me. So I'm going to point out one of the most important things that you need to consider. You will not receive an email confirmation from the benefits division regarding these changes. After you have made your final change, you need to print your open enrollment summary and you need to save it. So if you don't have a printer, that's fine. You could print to Adobe, but you need to save it somehow. Print it to paper document on a copier machine or print it to Adobe and save on your computer. So let's take a look. Employee is Ben. Got your employee ID, the flex credit amount. That flex credit amount is based off of Ben enrolling 2 or more dependents onto a medical plan and his job classification. So you're going to see 3 columns, a cost column, a paid with flex credits column, and an employee out-of-pocket column. You take a look at each one. So if we take a look at medical, we're going to show you that the flex credits cover most of that medical cost, but Ben does have some out-of-pocket because the flex credit amount did not cover the full cost of that medical premium. So once we get to that 181, that's Ben's out of pocket for medical. Any plan that Ben has added on top of that, which is dental, vision, remember we picked some of those life insurance policies, spending accounts. We will see Ben's out of pocket per pay period cost as $555.66. Now, I know that that's a little high, but remember, Ben did choose to enroll in some of those spending accounts to save on some taxable income for expenses that he's anticipating for 2026. If you scroll down, you'll see health plans, and it'll make it very clear which plans each dependent is enrolled in. So we could take a look for Sarah and Harper, take a look at the medical column, they're both enrolled. For dental, only Sarah is enrolled, not Harper. And for vision, neither Sarah nor Harper are enrolled in vision or critical illness. So it's a nice way to check to see who you enrolled in each plan. The life plans gives you a nice snapshot of all the coverage amounts that you have for your life insurance policies. And then Ben did not choose any disability plans, although I thought he did. Let's go back to benefits enrollment. Long-term disability. Ben should have long-term disability there. So that one is a little bit tricky. Now that could be a technical error, but any plan that you've enrolled in should be there. Just an FYI. I'll take a look at that on my end. But if you get to your open enrollment summary and you're not seeing it, please actually reach out to the benefits division. Let's just make sure that there's no errors there. So Ben did enroll in the healthcare FSA and the dependent care FSA. So you do see annual pledges there. And that's pretty much it for one of the most basic enrollment options. But let's go through a couple of errors. So let's go back to the benefit enrollment summary, and I want to show you one of the most common errors that you may see. So let's just say that you go to review, and let's just pretend that this is old stuff, right? Ben and Sarah, they don't exist anymore. Ben is actually adding a domestic partner. So remember, once you create a profile, they're pretty much there. We can update some profiles for ex-spouses, which you would no longer see them there. But for the purpose of training, we are going to see Sarah there for now. So let's just say that Ben has a domestic partner, and we're going to add, let's see, we're going to add the profile for this domestic partner. So Charlie, let's say Jones. And then we're going to do birthday for Charlie. And then we're going to not forget to change the year. We're going to put in the current sex. And here we're going to hit domestic partner adult. They're not married. Let's just pass the social security number for now. But if your domestic partner has one, please enter it. And I'm going to hit save. And now I'm going to hit the X for cancel. And now Ben's actually adding his domestic partner, Charlie. Ben gets this message that says error. The coverage you want for this benefit plan is not available. Change your covered dependents or select a different plan. The reason why Ben is getting this message is because he has failed to submit the affidavit of domestic partnership prior to making his changes in PeopleSoft. So in order to enroll a domestic partner, you do need to submit that affidavit of domestic partnership, or if you've registered with the state of California, submit that certificate. The benefits division will be reviewing and then approving that document. And then after that, you'd be able to add a domestic partner. So if you see this error when trying to add a domestic partner, that's what you would need to do. That is a common error that people get. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm not going to do anything with that profile. Again, that was just to show you a potential error that you may get. Oh, but I entered here, so I got to go ahead and I got to say, all right, agree the arbitration language before it'll let me out. Now let's just say, I'm going to go through one other common example. Let's just say that Ben is waiving the county medical plan because he's covered under a group plan elsewhere. Actually, let me hit no. If you forget the definitions, please click on the icon and it'll tell you each definition. You do want to make sure that you're selecting the correct one because they are tied to different spending accounts with different IRS rules regarding the accounts and how much you're allowed to have in each account. So Ben says, yep, I'm going to waive. And then it says, hey, you have covered dependents. They're going to be unselected or deselected. You're going to say, okay, yeah, I know. And you're going to agree. You do, again, have to agree to the arbitration language. Hit done. And let's just say that Ben actually does want to pledge that dependent care account. So I'm going to go here. And now that I'm waiving, Ben's going to actually pledge the max amount. If you want to see that full amount, remember, just hit calculate. It'll give you $312.50 is what will go in that account per pay period, and hit done. And then Ben's going to keep his other changes, actually. He's not going to change anything else, but he does want to make sure he has that dependent care account. And let's just say that Ben says, okay, I'm not going to pledge out of pocket to a healthcare FSA now that I'm waiving. So I'm going to hit done. And I'm going to hit next. And remember that status has changed, resubmit required, because I logged in and I made some changes. So I'm going to hit next and done. And now instead of hitting next at the top, I'm just going to hit open enrollment summary. Remember, you can do either, it's fine. So here we're going to get our summary and we see that medical is now waived. Ben's getting the employee only amount of flex credits because he's waiving medical. Those flex credits still play for all those other plans that Ben's chosen. That's why it says zeros for those employee out-of-pocket cost. And that dependent care account is funded by the leftover flex credits or excess flex credits, along with a health reimbursement account, which is a spending account used for things like medical, dental, vision that's funded by the county. So now Ben's out of pocket is $0 per pay period because his flex credits cover all the plans he has, including that full pledge to that dependent care FSA. And then if we scroll down, we'll see that Sarah is still enrolled in dental, but not in medical, vision, critical illness. And then we take a look at the life plans, those stay the same. Disability plans, now we should see long-term disability here. This could just be an error because this is a test system, but you should see it there. And then you do see the annual pledges for the dependent care FSA and then the health reimbursement account. And it tells you exactly how much is going to go in each account. So remember, you're going to want to print this for your records. Now, another question we get is, should I mark it complete or do I have to? Does it make a difference? It really doesn't matter, but let's go ahead and mark it complete. And it says, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And you say yes. And that's it, really. Nothing's really going to stop you from logging back in to make changes again. So marking complete is not necessary, but you can if you like. So again, you can log in as many times as you like. This is going to continue at the bottom. The status will continue to say submitted unless I log in again into one of these sections and start making changes. Then I'm going to get a message that I have to resubmit it. So remember, log in, play around with the numbers. Anytime you play around with the numbers, you can resubmit it, go back to your open enrollment summary, and it'll recalculate everything for you. After you have made your final changes, you're going to print your open enrollment summary for your records in case there are any errors. You will not be able to see your open enrollment changes until December of 2025. The Benefits Division spends November finalizing all of your changes and making sure that those changes get over to the carriers. But if you do see an error, contact us immediately via email as preferred, and we'll take a look at it and we'll get it all straightened out before the new plan year. So again, that is some basics regarding your PeopleSoft navigation. Thank you for listening to today's presentation. If you have any questions, you can always contact the Benefits Division or you can contact your benefit ambassador. And on your welcome screen, you will see your benefit ambassadors are here to help, and it will take you to a list of the benefit ambassadors for 2026. Gives you their phone number and email. Okay, that is it for today. I hope you have a happy open enrollment season. I know we will. Bye-bye.